Heartworm is a love letter to the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era of survival horror, with a game that is as old school as it can be to a fault. And while it may not move the genre forward, it can be a great trip down a memory lane. In Heartworm, we play as Sam, who is grieving the loss of a family member, and she learns about a mysterious place that one can go to commune and visit the dead. But when she arrives there, she finds herself trapped in another dimension. Armed with her trusty camera, we are going to have to once again enter that lovely world of survival horror in order to get out. Our gameplay here should be familiar to anyone who's played the original Resident Evil or Silent Hill games. You'll explore 3 different areas complete with puzzles, MacGuffins, and a lot of enemies to fight by standing perfectly still. This is not going to be high-octane combat. You're going to be staying in one spot and trying to get a picture off on these enemies to do damage. One thing I do like about kind of a bridge between old and new school is you can set up 2 different forms of aiming. You can go with the old school tank where the camera doesn't change, you're just kind of moving your character around, or you can go into kind of a third-person view and aim the camera accordingly. Now, with that said, this isn't a game where enemies are going to be flying around and doing all manner of crazy maneuvers to avoid your shots, so you can play it either way pretty effectively. As the game goes on, you'll be introduced to a variety of puzzles, with each area having its own kind of like one major puzzle, and of course a variety of some head scratchers that you'll have to do. The puzzle design here definitely falls more in line with Silent Hill, in that you'll be having to make use of the logic of the world and the logic of each puzzle. And I did have some problem with like 2 of the puzzles which I just did not understand the logic that the game was going for in order to solve them. I did have to look up these solutions for it. Overall difficulty for Heartworm, I would put this, I would say moderate to moderately easy. Because you can kind of run past most of the enemies outside of bosses, you're really never going to be put into a position where the enemies are going to outpace you or completely surround you and just stun lock you to death. There's more than enough health items that you can find, and with the kind of simplistic combat means you're never going to be like too much in a position where you need like a stronger weapon, because there is none. The puzzles, again, are probably going to be the trickiest part of this game, including trying to find the ones that are needed for the game's multiple endings. And I did feel a little bit frustrated at one point when I realized that the requirements for getting like the best ending, there are points of no returns that the game doesn't really telegraph to you, and you can easily miss one if you're not careful. But this is not going to be a lengthy game. Once you've played through and you know the solution to the puzzles, it really just comes down to running through as quickly as you can. And I would say this one again is okay. If you're again looking for something that's more on the modern side, be it with combat, puzzle logic, or both, Heartworm is definitely not going to work for you. And we did have some issues when it came to the camera. The game makes use of the kind of static camera angles, again, that we've seen from first and second generation survival horror, but it also will kind of change the camera like multiple times in the span of a hallway or as you're moving for a room, and can be very disorienting. The game does do that thing where it will lock your direction as long as you're holding the analog stick or your D-pad in the direction as you're shifting the camera angle, but it can still be very disorienting. Not helping matters is the map is not the best. This is not a game where you get your icon on the map, and it does something that I really don't like, in that normally when we have maps in survival horror games, each room on the map represents one kind of area, and of course you go through a door to transition to the next place. In this one, there are cases where the area is so big that the map doesn't really show the kind of translation or the shift from one side to the other. And this is one of those games where left could be south on the map, north is east, and you have to just constantly keep swapping to the map to have any idea where you are in a level and not to get lost. And you're going to need that, because a lot of the more trickier puzzles really just revolve around you finding random clues and then figure out, okay, these clues reference this, so now I have to go back, and if you miss any of those clues, you have to then go back and try and find them. So I would say that this is not going to be one of my favorite horror games, but it is, again, trying to emulate the older versions or the first generation of survival horror. So if you are someone who has fond memories playing the original Resident Evil, Silent Hill, or even Alone in the Dark, and looking for a game that captures that spirit, I would give this one a try, and I do hope we see more and kind of an evolution of this, maybe at some point in the future. Heartworm was played with a press key provided by the publisher. Let me take your game for a future stream and review. It doesn't have to involve horror, cameras, or soul searching. Please get in touch. If you did play this one all the way through, let me know what you thought about it as well, especially if you are an old school survival horror fan. Because this game, I think, is going to be a bit polarizing, depending upon when you started playing horror. Thanks for watching, and see everyone in our next review. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.